Well, thanks for staying with us on the program this morning. It's time now to get into our main topic of conversation this morning as we look at the outlook ahead of the 2027 general elections. Joining me in the studio this morning is a political analyst, Princemartins Onuabuchi. Good morning to you, Prince, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get into other conversations, I'd like to quickly get your reaction. The FCT Minister, during a Thanksgiving service yesterday, put out a speech that has sparked a lot of reactions on the demand of the Nigerian electorate to look at the past credential of the opposition leaders who are now looking to put together a coalition ahead of 2027. He said that most of these persons failed to deliver the dividends of democracies while in office and are only looking to serve their self-interest of a power grab from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let's get your thoughts.
The statement from the FCT minister, it's a situation of competence versus incompetence. He's been touted as the most performing minister twice in a row. He was also called Mr. Projects while he was two-time governor of the FCT. These were never without challenges. So yes, coming out to say such, he is putting their credentials, their achievements on the same pedestal as what he has done, having been in executive governance for, say, 10 years now. So on one part, I think he's correct, because if you look at some of these coalition opposition leaders, they are what I like to call disgruntled at the moment, because these were either serving members of the APC or party members and apologists of the former administration under President Muhammadu Buhari. And you want to check as well, what exactly truly did they do in their 8 years in office? I want to believe that beyond the rigor of criticism and downplaying opposition politics, the FCT minister is within his rights to have mentioned that to a very large extent. So to say, it doesn't also mean that they achieved nothing in its entirety. What I'd like to speak to is the fact that he had this to say because they do not wield the kind of political sagacity or will that the FCT minister has always shown over time, especially when he was or currently is still in opposition. And I'll give
talking about this, before you give me instances, talking about this style of politics, a lot of the opposition leaders are also looking to adopt what is now known as the Wike style of politics, remaining a member of your current political party, but being in a romance with the opposition party, what many would have termed anti-party before now. Do you think that this precedent he has set might redefine some of the political ideologies and philosophies as we know them?
Funny enough, Nigerian political parties do not have ideology. We are aspirant-serving, candidate-serving polity. That's what we operate. We don't have ideologies. From the PDP, there's a President Obasanjo Olusegun, who we all gave the Messianic order. Now we came to Yaradua. We came over to Jonathan, who was the man without shoes. Now we came to a newer Messiah, who was Muhammadu Buhari. And now there is now a newer savior, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We hardly have we ever seen the wake of political ideology, as it were. So yes, I understand that what the FCT minister is doing is new, but it is redefining, because I want to look at it as a government of national unity. This is the first
as
one
against anti-party.
As against anti-party.
Why is this so?
Because we have all had issues of flagrant disabuse and entire abuse of the constitution as regards party politics. If the PDP brings you into power, please remain in the PDP as enshrined in our electoral laws. But you see people defect without losing their candidature or their seats. And so I want to begin to understand where people are calling anti-party politics from. So it is good what the FCT minister has done. He has shown that you can remain in the PDP and work for the APC for national unity and for coherence in governance. While this is not a very popular take, but it's not the first time it will be happening anywhere in the world.
Now talking about this disgruntled figures, like you put them in your own word, the FCT minister posed a question while speaking. He says, why is it now that in the last 8 years under the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, why didn't these politicians feel the need to wrestle power or form a coalition to go against him? Why do you think it is happening now under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration?
On that, I want to beg to differ a bit. The FCT minister is somebody whom I respect, having shown capacity, especially in the FCT, as we can see. But in 2019, there was an attempt to actually wrestle power out of the hands of President Muhammadu Buhari. It failed, albeit. But then it would not be entirely correct to say there was no attempt. There's been attempts on every government from 1999 till date. Yes.
Now, there's a rhetoric making the rounds as to the 2027 elections being between the APC versus Nigerians, saying that Nigerians are looking for an alternative owing to their current hardship and the quality of life. Do you think that this rhetoric truly reflects the position of the Nigerian electorate going into 2027?
Nigerians are actually looking for an actual change. The indices are clear. Yes, the president's current rating has improved from a meager 11.5 to maybe a 40%, given the outburst of projects being commissioned by the FCT minister and also his performing minister, Honorable Olubunmi Ojo.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, those two guys have been outstanding in his cabinet. These are the only two ministers I can wake up from my sleep, call any Nigerian any day, and they'll tell you, yes, there's been improvement. But that in itself is not in its entirety what Nigerians are looking for. There are still debts. There are over 11 to 12,000 debts, according to Amnesty International, since the president took over office. So yes, he's faced with a lot of security challenges. There's been the wake of the Talakawas, the new sects. About 2 new sects have come up since 2023. Now, we've also had one of the worst double-digit inflation since the president took over office. Not to mention that, yes, we have had a reduction in fiscal deficit. So, yeah, from a 3.4 to a current, from a 5.4 rather to a current 3.0, I understand that the president is doing his bit, but I cannot certainly say his best, because people who knew him touted him to be a solutions merchant or a solutions architect. But currently, Nigerians are either feeling the downside of the brunt of his economic reforms and his policies other than what we actually hoped for. So I don't think that Nigerians are clamoring for facetious change. They are actually clamoring for a change that is within reach. And I believe there is still time beyond the electioneering process and, trying to retain power in 2027. I feel the president should focus more on delivering on various promises to Nigerians. It's either his implementation is slow or execution is dragging back.
Well, thanks to Princemartins for setting the background to this conversation this morning. We look to expand the discourse. We also have another guest joining us virtually this morning. We have Comrade Abdulwahab Ekekhinde, the former assistant of AMAC chairmanship. Good morning to you, Comrade Abdulwahab, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning, Nigerians.
Now, Comrade Abdulwahab, you're no stranger to politics within the FCT and Abuja at large. Now, we're still talking about our first point of call. I don't know if you caught up with the comments made by the FCT minister at the Thanksgiving service yesterday, where he urged Nigerians to look at the scorecard of politicians now under the opposition coalition. He cited a few examples. The big question now is how much of his comments should be taken as the truth?
Well, if you are a Nigerian that followed the political history of this country, in fact, starting from 1999, you realize that the comments of the Honorable Minister of the FCT wasn't out of place, and most of them are facts, truth. He said the truth. Only if we want to deceive ourselves, I have always opined that, you see, if we want, in every democracy, for a democracy to strive, there must be a very strong opposition. we need an opposition that is strong, that will be able to checkmate the ruling party at any given time, at whatever level of government. So opposition is necessary and it's something we should have. But the challenge I have is that you cannot have opposition that is composed of people who will know their antecedents, who will know their track record, that they've never been those who really care about the well-being and the livelihood of Nigeria. Seen all of them, they are not strangers to us. Just yesterday here we were all complaining about the same people. You realize that in 2022, 2023, 20 all of this time we were complaining about Governor Nasir El-Rufai as governor of Kaduna State. A lot of people, there are a lot of issues. Today these people, they are now being, I don't know, the challenge I have with Nigerians is that we don't know how to hold our leaders accountable, and we don't even know how to request for them to apologize to Nigerians for whatever they have done. Some of these people have really hurt Nigerians. In fact, some of them put us where we are today. So if by just 2023 people were shouting the way El-Rufai was ruling Kaduna State, until today nobody hasn't come out to say, oh, my people of Kaduna, I'm sorry for what I did and I hurt you. You know, these people need to come to Nigeria and truly apologize, to say, look, we have done this, we have done that, please forgive us. Please forgive us. We have changed. We want to be born again. But it is the Nigerians.
Comrade Abdulwahab, most politicians are not in the habit of issuing apologies. I can tell you for one that the only apology in 2025 which kind of elicited the need for more apologies is that issued by the JAM registrar. But whilst that is the case, how do we hold these politicians accountable? Yes, we elect them into office, but when they fail to deliver on electoral promises, how do we demand this apologies like you put it?
Now, you see, if you look at the Constitution very well, he said that government derives its authority from the people. Who are the people? You and I. We are the citizens, but we have failed in our own responsibilities as citizens to even scrutinize those people we so elect. We don't hold them accountable enough. Okay, look, for instance, I have elected a councillor from my ward. I have a local government chairman, I have a member of the State House of Assembly, I have a member of the House of Representatives, the Senator, and then I have a governor. But even the village to farm in my village, everybody is shouting the president. Nobody wants to say, councillor, we elected you, promised us this. We don't hold them accountable for where we should start. Everybody's attention has been taken to the center. Everybody in my village, people are calling Mr. President. For a road that should be done by the local government, they are calling Mr. President. So this is the problem. We misplace our priorities and refocus our attention to areas that we shouldn't do. We should hold them from those who are closer to us. Why was local government created? For government to get to the people. And you elect a councillor, you are not asking him. Before you elected him, when he had a bicycle, now he's driving a car, tinted, moving a police, maybe he becomes Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, and then you don't ask them question. What you promise, where is it? No, this is the challenge we are having. We must learn to hold people accountable from where we elected them. Not until we are just talking about president.
Comrade Abdulwahab, quite right in your stead there. Let me bring back Princemartins into this conversation. Prince, he's raised a very salient point. There seems to be an over-focus on the president, whilst other elected officers are more or less relegated into the shadows. Talking about the performance across board, local government autonomy. Now, the president has also said one of the strong points of his administration is increased FAC. But this morning we hear that over 10 states have borrowed over 417 billion naira despite this increased allocation. And if you ask Nigerians in these states if they can point to the infrastructures that have been a testament of this increased allocation, I'm very sure there'll be very few replies. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Honorable Wahab, because first, I think with the issue of local government autonomy, the president has made frantic efforts to ensure that there's decentralization of power and less focus on the center for, like he said, roads that should be done by a councillor in a ward, just maybe a grader. The president is being called. I don't subscribe to that, but there's a fundamental problem, and it's the problem of the constitution. The welfarism of the average Nigerian is not justiciable. You cannot sue government at any level for failing to provide basic amenities, including not failing to provide protection for citizenry, lives, excuse me, and properties. Now, once your welfareism is not justiciable, in fact, today, just one CSO, or non-governmental organization, wakes up to sue, sometimes facetiously, the government, and it's Serap. They are the only ones who wake up to say, oh, the Serap has gone to court, Serap has gone to court. It holds no water because our rights, our welfareism, our privileges are hardly justiciable. You can't sue under our constitution. You cannot sue the government at any level. And so this creates a lacuna. People behave the way they want to behave. People act the way they want to act. And even in your family as a man, there is hardly everything that you would know. If things want to be kept apart from you, they will be kept apart. Not to mention the President of the Federal Republic. A lot of things will go underwater that would not catch his attention. And like he said, if we begin to hold our leaders at the grassroots accountable, personally, I have a problem with people who try to hold legislators accountable. I have a problem with that because that is not their job. They are not to execute, they are not to implement. In fact, yes, they know the constituencies, but their job is lawmaking, ease of doing business, policy reforms. That's their job. But today, we hold legislators accountable.
This comment on legislators accountable, let me take it back to Comrade Abdulwahab. Comrade, are you still with us? Beautiful.
Yes, I'm here.
Now he's made a mention about holding leaders accountable while creating an excuse for legislative officers. One of the strong points of the 2027 political outlook is on the key figure there being the former Senate President, a two-term Senate President, Senator David Mark, and the fact that he was unable to bring about any real transformative change to his locality. What do you make of this as against the opinion of Princemartins that they're more focused on lawmaking other than executing projects?
But you know, every arm of government have their own constitutional role. I must agree with my colleague over there. You see, the legislature, their primary duty is lawmaking. That's their primary duty. And then to oversight the executive, to make them stand up, to execute whatever project that they have so put in the budget. So, but even at that, they are also failing their own responsibility to hold the executive accountable. Because how do you make of it? I can tell you that in my village, I'm from Edo State. I am from Edo North. I am from Onwa East local government. My village is Warake. And I tell you that for the past almost a year, my village, Warake, Ihebe, and Iyaru, we have been having issues of electricity. For over how long we have been having? The community have contributed money to make sure that we resolve. We are the one paying. Now, what is the job of the legislator? Who is supposed to represent? Are they not supposed to take these issues to the national board to say, no, our people are suffering. What can we do? DEDC, what is the problem? Nobody is coming to the aid. So the legislators are also failing in their responsibility to hold elected executive to account for them to do the needful. Because there's a budgetary provision for everything, for the roads, for everything. So they should hold them. The legislators should stand up. And I'm talking about David Mark. David Mark was a state governor of a military administrator of Niger State. He was a minister of communication. And I remember vividly well, if I'm not failing in my memory, that he told us as minister of communication that telephone is not for the poor. But today I can tell you that the oldest man, right, maybe in his village, has a telephone. Has he apologized to them? Because that was a derogatory statement on the people. Because a poor man today can be a rich man tomorrow. So why do you talk down on people? This is why I say these people, we must hold them and they must apologize to Nigeria for all the atrocity they have committed. He's the longest service Senate president we've ever had. He was Senate president for 8 consecutive years. What he has done in his constituency. I'm talking of this immediate where he comes from. He's from Otukpo. Go to Otukpo and find out what was that David Mark did. I was in Otukpo in 2012. And I knew that the whole road were dusting. As at that I was staying in a hotel, adjacent his house, Leach Hotel. I was watching his house. His house was green, everything. It was a Christmas period. I was in his house. I was right almost opposite
All right, Comrade Abdulwahab.
Go ahead.
We'll come back to you in a bit. Now, it set the tone for a strong conversation.
Today, you see, any opposition built on hate and anger cannot see the light of the day. And this is exactly what we are having.
We'll come back to you in a bit, Comrade. We'll come back to you a bit, Comrade. Now, he's talked about a strong point, the need for strong opposition. Now, he's talked about this opposition being built on a perceived hate for the current administration. How do we have an opposition where Nigerians would be, in some sense, more in line with the true intentions of their coming together?
Our position born out of hate is laughable and pitiable at the same time, because the Nigerian situation is a situation of hatred. Our political situation is a situation of hatred, because if you look around what's going on in Nigeria, it is only leaders that hate their people that will let their people go through what we're going through in Nigeria. Let's not even micromanage that conversation at the moment. Any opposition that comes up now will not clap for this administration. That is the truth. I'll give you an example. With all the minute achievements of the Yaradua, Goodluck Jonathan, and Goodluck Jonathan Namadi Sambo administration, there was still the Occupy Nigeria in 2012. It was born all the things said against Goodluck Jonathan in 2014, with the current FCT minister standing behind him as one of the only governors in the South and Southeast at the time to stand behind Goodluck Jonathan. A lot of things were said about Goodluck Jonathan, and they were born out of hate. In fact, we have heard current political leaders say, yeah, then it was politics. So yes, even the APC set the tone for hatred opposition. And
one of such persons was the former Rivers Governor Rotimi Amechi.
Yes, and including including the former Governor Fayemi of Ekiti State. They all,
but they're now part of the new opposition.
Yeah, they are all part of the new opposition who were part of the last administration. So we should not begin to think that Nigerian opposition is only born out of hate. The situation in Nigeria is a situation of leaders hating the citizenry. That's simple. So, and you cannot place something or nothing and expect it to stand. So yes, at the moment, where I blame the present administration is remove focus from the administration, listen to the citizenry, from the opposition rather, listen to the citizenry. What are the yearnings of the citizenry? I'll give you a very vivid example. Where the president has keen interest, he throws in his weight. One of such examples would be the CAC. We had a debacle in the CAC where for about a year or 6 months thereabout, there was a lag in registration of SMEs and businesses and companies. And just about last week, they developed a system where you can now register and receive certificates in less than 30 minutes. The demo is online, through an AI bot. That's an improvement simply because the president wants to throw his weight behind key economic reforms and ease of doing business. Can he do the same in other spheres of government? I also like what he did with the health sector, increasing their budget to about 300 billion naira for the first time. Yes, these are the kind of things we're looking forward to, but it's not enough. And the opposition will keep shouting foul until these things are done. Now, don't forget that these opposition candidates, some of them, are actually going there for selfish interest, because when they were there, like he said, Nasir El-Rufai, we saw what he did with Kaduna State. Now again, I blame the president. Why not hold him accountable? Because it is only the president, through the instrumentation of his office now, through the EFCC, ICPC, and all law enforcement agents, that can hold people without immunity to order. Because, as it were, it's looking as if some political bigwigs are bigger than the Nigerian justice system. Because I've always said, like I said before, the welfarism of the average Nigerian to our leaders is a mere political and moral obligation. It is not enshrined legally. You don't have a legal right to anything you are demanding in Nigeria.
Well, interesting points you've raised here. We'll come back to Comrade Abdulwahab. And now let's talking about the opposition and how they choose to strategize going into 2027. Beyond two key positions in the national chairman of the ADC and the national secretary, we do not know for facts who is their flag bearer and who might be the flag bearer's running mates. This is one of the clouds that continue to hover over the strategy of the ADC ahead of 2027. Now, Comrade, you've been very critical about the former Senate President, Senator David Mark. In terms of who they might choose as a flag runner, only one person has been vocal enough to ask for 4 years and also say he intends to run as a flag bearer and would not agree to be a running mate to the former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. What do you make of his chances and this bold attempt at putting forward his intentions to run for presidency?
Well, let me say for now, let me commend the effort of Nigerians. Because, before I comment on it, let me react to my colleague over there. The role of holding people accountable is solely the role of citizens. Citizens should not abandon their role and leave it. Government cannot hold itself accountable. No government will hold itself accountable. If this present government begins to run after Erufai, they say, because it's not in opposition, you are witch hunting. It is the same Nigerians that will be defending the man they were accusing yesterday. So the president, it is our duty as citizens to carry Erufai and take him to court and say, look, you didn't do this way in Kaduna while you were here. It is as citizens to hold them accountable. And then now coming to the flag bearer of the ADC, I tell you that is where I see a big challenge. Because what we see is that still wants to be the flag bearer of that party and he wants to be president. And some Southerners are already following him and saying that it's only a Northerner that can defeat the current president. Then whatever they intend to do, they should do it. But I tell you, if they give the presidential ticket to a Northerner, then there will be a challenge. Because why? Why is it that it's every time that a Southerner is a president that they want him to do only one tenure? And you remember in 1999, if not that Obasanjo, then President Obasanjo, went to need that for Atiku, he would have gotten the second term ticket. If not, look at Goodluck Jonathan. There was also a gang up to say he should not go for a second tenure. Now it is the turn of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They announced they shouldn't go for second tenure. Why is it always when there is a Southern president, there is this gang up to say no, the person must do one tenure? This is what I want to find out. Because we don't understand the idea behind it. Why is it that a Southern is allowed to do his complete 8 years without any complaint? We were here, Buhari did 8 years. We were all here, and we were not that we were smiling. We were all complaining like this. Nobody formed a coalition to say, oh, let's remove him, let him not do a second term. Nobody. But today, what we are having, this is what continues to happen. I did my analysis, I realized that every time we have a Southern president, this is what happens. Why are we like this?
Now, Comrade Abdulwahab, you have raised quite a very strong point of call. Let's bring it back and see if we have answers from Princemartins. It almost seems as though there is an unspoken agreement of power rotation, not south. But much like Comrade Abdulwahab says, it almost seems as though there's an antecedent of when it gets to the turn of the south, there seems to be this unspoken desire to truncate it. Do you align your thoughts with him, and do you see any reasons why it is so?
Yeah, I agree with him, but you want to also check that this is not without cause. The average Southerner is Republican, more or less like the East. And prior to the colonial era, we were not very theocratic or oligarchs like the North. So it's easy to sway the whims and caprices of voters towards a particular person. Hence, he comes from their region, right? But for the South, we are mostly based on competence most times. And if a person is performing below par, yes, this is what would happen. But with the current administration, I like to think that the president should be comfortable with the coalition and with people, including Southerners, wanting to oust him out of power, because he also was part of a coalition that ousted a Southerner out of power for a greater good, perhaps, or selfish interest.
Interesting, Princemartins. I'll take it back to Comrade Abdulwahab on that note. He's saying it's more of a case of one good turn deserving another. I don't know how best to put it, because he is saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was part of the Occupy movement that led to the removal of President Goodluck Jonathan from office. And maybe that answers your question.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. To also they set us at loggerheads to fight ourselves, to take us out of power. And that is why I'm talking to all of us. We need to be very pragmatic. We need to be retrospect and see and ask ourselves this question. Because I did it. I said, why is it that president, this keeps happening? Why Obasanjo? If you see, Vice President Atiku should be advised, former Vice President, that if he wants to clear his name and really prove to Nigeria that he's a man of integrity, he should take Obasanjo to court. Because the book Obasanjo wrote, My Watch, if you read that book, even the international community, Atiku will not be president. I'm not. If you see the way Obasanjo, I tell you, that is what is working. And when his great-grandchildren will come up and read that book, they will ask, what did my father do? Did he sue this man for defamation or libel? He has not sued. The day Atiku will sue Obasanjo to court, that is the day I begin to respect him and begin to follow him. Because women that have destroyed your political, everything Atiku have done in life, that book destroyed it. That book destroyed it. And you didn't sue that man to court to challenge him to say, why did you do? It means that But there's no challenging. Somebody has spoken to your character, your integrity, your personality. Until today, how many years? And this thing is not just a verbal word. It is in a book that will last forever. That people yet of all will wake up and read that book. And you have not sued that man to say, no, I will not take this. Even if you lose the case, but let it be on record that you sued, that your character was defamed, and this is not the true you, and prove to the world that that is not you. But today, I think we have not done that. So that is why I don't have respect for him. If he does not go and challenge Obasanjo for that singular act, then he remains condemned to remain as former vice president.
Now, Comrade Abdulwahab, we've talked about the opposition coalition in terms of the permutations of who might be flag bearer and who might be running mates. But even when we look at the ruling All Progressive Congress APC, there seems to be some doubt over the choice of the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, for the 2027 re-election bid. Whilst the party has endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there's been quite the cloud cast over that decision on its joint tickets. Now, permutations are also oscillating between the North based on the Muslim ticket as it is, or on the possible defection of Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso to join the APC ahead of 2027. Let's get your thoughts on these permutations in that regard.
Well, I am not a member of the National Working Committee of the party. Neither am I a member of the NEC of the party. Neither am I an appointee of Mr. President. I am not.
But from the outside now, from the outside looking in, do you think that there's that perceived opposition?
Yes. No, what I can tell you that I know is that the party has procedures. You see, the presidential ticket or governorship ticket, it is only when that he chooses a vice. No president chooses a vice before primary elections. No, there is none. It's not the party. The constitution must produce the candidate, either a chairmanship candidate, a governorship candidate, or a presidential, before they now choose the running mate. The running mate is not choose. The running mate does not contest primary elections.
We all agree on that. We all agree on that.
So what I'm saying is that when you say you endorse president, that means the party is saying we are giving our ticket to Mr. President. Now, it is also at the prerogative of Mr. President or Mr. Governor or the chairman to decide, and the party to decide whether they want to run with it. But as far as I see, I don't think there's any problem between the vice president and the president. But there are a lot of mischief makers around government, a lot of people who want to cause problems, they are doing a lot of permutation. And the permutation against, because let me be frank with you, 2027 election is going to be a difficult one. Very difficult for this administration. Very, very difficult. So they are putting some permutation to see. I don't know whether the president has the intention to remove vice president, because I see Vice President Kashim Shettima as an asset and a very loyal vice president to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. For whatever reason, if they want to remove him, I don't know. But I don't think so that is what is on the playground. But people are just trying to test the water to see, oh, maybe, politicians, when they see water, they want to put their, maybe let us start it. If we want to remove
Interesting analogy, Comrade Abdulwahab. Will come back to you in a bit. He says he does not see any reason why the president might have a different choice of VP. But now when you look at the surprising resignation of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje from the position of the APC national chairman, and the conversations as it concerns zoning of that office and the zone currently shared by the current vice president. Hence the reason why these speculations are gaining grounds. What's your thoughts on that?
First, the man resigned on health grounds. I don't know. I don't see otherwise. Number two, we have a president who has disabused whatever I want to call the norm. He's the first president to pick a vice that he thought competent and not a vice that came from a particular region, or maybe from a religion rather. He picked a Muslim ticket. So yes, with the zoning, he might say, no, the zoning is the norm, but I don't care. He remains. He's done nothing. He's loyal. Our government works well together. So he remains. For now, let's wait till the primaries are over and he picks. I agree with Honorable Abdulwahab that mischief makers are a lot within the corridors of power. And people will make permutations and all the rest of it. But, the buck stops at the feet of the president, not even the party, because the party respects Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, this is interesting. We've looked at it from the angle of the APC. Our other talking points now is looking at it in terms of the voting patterns. Comrade Abdulwahab, you have said 2027 elections might be the toughest Nigerian electorates have seen, particularly tougher for the ruling APC. But taking a cue from what happened in 2023, when a certain Labour Party gained prominence off the back of a certain obedient movement. Now looking at 2027 in regards to what Nigerians are seeking in terms of an alternative, what do you foresee in terms of movements and the quest for more political party registrations? Over 122 have been submitted on the table of INEC. Do you see Nigerians coming up with their own movements away from the current ADC, PDP, APC directions?
Yes, a lot of parties are in the offing, like you said, with INEC for registration. And I think some well-meaning Nigerians. But what the election of 2027 will be difficult. Why will it be difficult? Why? Because Nigeria, the economic policies of this administration. But I also know that sometimes when you have a fractured leg, if you have an accident and your leg is fractured, and you get to the hospital, a surgical ward, and they want to do surgery for you. I know that sometimes it is not easy. At that point, the pain you will feel is enormous. The challenges you will pass is enormous. But after some time, it takes a long time, but after that time, you get healed and it will be part of history. I believe that the challenges we are going through now are challenges that will make this country greater and the people stronger. That is what I believe, because I always believe that when you don't take hard decisions, you might not achieve. Even these countries we are talking about, like Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew took a lot of very hard decisions that the people had to go through a lot of pains before they got to where they are. Even in China, the people we are looking up to always talk about it. They took some hard decisions. In fact, they ruled like dictators for them to even achieve what they achieved. And you see how long they ruled before they were able to change. But in Nigeria, every 4 years, we want to change, start all over. Everybody wants to start a new life. This is the problem. We don't need politicians who are only hungry for power. We need politicians who are passionate about the livelihood of Nigerians. We need politicians who have the interest of the masses at heart. Not the politicians we know yesterday. We know their antecedents. We know their records. We have their records. Why is it that they are not the people, we citizens, we have told them now to saints? People we know their antecedents are not the same people coming that they want to change this Nigeria. They were in government. What did they do? Amechi was speaker for 8 years, governor for 8 years, minister for 8 years, yet he couldn't take a rail line to Rivers State as Minister of Transport. He couldn't take a rail line to the south or even south. He didn't do. So what are we talking about? Are these the people who are saying we are going to take Nigeria out? There are well many Nigerians out there who will come out and Nigerians will rally around them. I tell you, for Peter Obi, the obedient movement will not accept anything short that they give Peter Obi the presidential ticket. If they don't give, the obedient movement will not even support this coalition so to come. Do you understand? So the more, this is the turn of South, and South will finish the 8 years. So if they are serious opposition, they should begin to go around Nigeria and begin to apologize to Nigeria for.
All right, Comrade Abdulwahab.
Will not go anywhere.
We'll come back to you in a bit. I had asked the question to him: over 122 applications for registrations as political party. The Obedient Movement showed that in 2023, a group of Nigerians can, beyond political affiliations, come together and even challenge the status quo. You look at the fine margins between the three top political parties and how President Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged. Do you see 2027 being any different?
2027 is a bit different. It's going to be a bit different because 2027 is going to be a referendum of the kind of nation we want to become. The political parties being registered is not even a sign of that referendum yet. It is in the yearnings of the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian is tired of whoever, whatever, and wherever the current political status quo is taking us. And the clamor is wide. The clamor is going to be a semblance of the clamor we had in 2014 and 2015 that ousted President Bele Goodluck Jonathan. And it's going to be a tough one for the president, I believe, because we are not in tune with this kind of reforms. We're not, and we don't see it every day. Even during the time of the head of state, Abacha, Sani Abacha, it wasn't this tough. Yes, so 2027 is going to be tough for the president. And I believe for him to emerge strong, he has to bring his team together, and they have to look at the issues one after the other. It won't be politics as usual, except, of course, they want to allow flagrant abuse of INEC, flagrant abuse, and the current consistent use of violence as a means to retain power. That's the only way they can go and sleep and say the election will be a walk in the park. Because I believe, like Honorable Wahab said, the Obedient Movement have shown in strong terms in 2023 that they have the capacity to create the biggest upset in the history of Nigerian politics. And it was a scary one, believe me. In fact, till today, a lot of Nigerians believe that election was nothing short of free and fair. It wasn't free and it wasn't fair at the time, especially, so given all of these circumstances by which the president even emerged, he has a lot of work to do in 2027. It will not be a walk in the park.
Now, this conversation would not be complete if we do not look at the role of the electoral umpire INEC. As much as we project, as much as we speculate, or as much as we draw deductions from the current political restructurings, without a focus on the electoral umpire, we would just only be scratching the surface. Comrade Abdulwahab, is on that note that I pose my next question to you, as it concerns INEC's role in the 2027 elections. The conversations have been along the line of electoral reforms. Conversations have been along the line of the need to unbundle INEC and remove some of the burdens of political registration and political oversights. A bill has also been sponsored by the Speaker of the House in terms of the constitutional reviews needed in that direction. What do you foresee in terms of the electoral umpire's role in ensuring that the 2027 elections are indeed a reflection of the most popular votes and true yearning of the Nigerian electorate?
I will always encourage that INEC should be independent. Truly, truly independent. Because when you have an independent umpire, then the result that comes out will be accepted by all. But there's already this very big trust burden. People no longer trust the electoral file. People don't trust government. And so when you don't trust the process, then there's whatever outcomes that come will always be an outcome that will be challenged. But I can tell you that INEC is the most followed institution of government in this country. I tell you, go and check. Civil society, they are on top of INEC. And I can tell you, because of the activities and oversight of the civil engagement of the civil society and advocacy, INEC is standing up. INEC has put a lot of reforms in place. But INEC does not constitute the whole electoral change process. The security are there. You understand? There is ad hoc staff. There are different agencies that constitute to make, there is NURTW. There are different agencies that collaborate to work with INEC. INEC is not the only umpire, but in terms of what INEC needs to do, in terms of sensitization of the political parties, in terms of giving their guidelines, INEC always, because of the advocacy of civil society, INEC knows that they are always, the eyes of the people, especially civil society, are always on them. So INEC try to do the right thing. But when INEC finishes his job, what happens? If, for instance, vote is conducted here, and then the other person did not do his own job, and you see materials are delayed, NURT, they will not take materials to some places. That, so all those things, that is why we need reform. And I tell you, when you say on board INEC, that has been a long time agitation and advocacy of civil society, that INEC should be abandoned. INEC should even have the right of persecution. Sometimes when the police will arrest you, police that will take you to court, and INEC will not be a party. No, INEC should have the right to be to persecute. I think by the time we amend these laws, INEC will be strengthened. We need a stronger INEC. We need INEC that will be strengthened, that will be powerful, and that will be independent. An INEC that can look at the face of Mr. President and say, Mr. President, you failed the election, and be bold to announce it. An INEC that will look at the governor and say, you failed the election, and be bold to announce it, based on the guidelines and principles set for this election. Everybody must obey and follow the rules as set out by the electoral act, so that people will be guided, because you understand. So we need a stronger INEC.
All right. Now, he has made a case for stronger institutions, but over time, Nigerians, beyond looking at the institution, look at who is the chairman. I know a lot of people will point back to 1993, and with the posthumous awards conferred on the then INEC chairman, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, many look at Professor Mahmoud Yakubu in 2023 and ask the question, why make a promise based on real-time transmission of results when you know that the provisions in the Electoral Act can't say otherwise? How do you juxtapose these two references in terms of institutions versus who is chairman of that institution and the promises made to the electorate?
Autonomy. There's a lack of autonomy in the choice of who becomes chairman. So much as we have it, the president still appoints the independent National Electoral Commission's head. See, for the fact that the president appoints the INEC chairman and suggestively appoints the chief judge or chief justice of the nation, there is hardly any autonomy or independence for these institutions. Such powers should be removed from the coffers of the president. Yes, one will raise other alternatives that, the Senate has to approve, but no. The president should not even be able to suggest a person. If not, you appoint me and you ask me for a bit of a favor here and there. I'm obliged morally to tweak and bend a little to, accomplish that favor for you. So with the Humphrey Nwosu case, it was a case where, yes, Humphrey Nwosu stood by the people, but what happened afterwards? The head of state, Babangida, annulled, regardless. So we need a tweak in the laws for INEC so that even the INEC chairman knows he's a standalone. He's protected by law, he's protected by the people, and then he can go to sleep. And we will hardly have a president like President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan who would accept the outcome of.
Even before it's officially announced.
He accepted it. Even though he had the powers in February 2015 to remove Jega, whose time had already come to a close. But he said, for the sake of creating or setting a precedent that INEC should be utterly independent, I will let things fly. Let the man who started the electioneering process complete it. That's how today. We can't say the same for the current INEC chairman, who we felt betrayed the trust. The trust for us and INEC is not decreased. He cannot decree his trust, our trust on himself and on INEC. No, he has to earn it. Now, are there improvements? Yes, but where it mattered the most, INEC failed. Oh, we did not say that Nigerians can upload and you get results in real time. But in off-cycle elections, after the presidential elections, results were uploaded in real time. So INEC should sit back and by themselves create a charter of demand or a bill, an executive bill, transmit directly. They can pass it through lobbyists to even the Speaker of the House or to an opposition honorable member or senator to read on the floor of the House. And let's see if such laws will even make it to the light of day. Let's know if such reforms coming from INEC or watertight reforms coming from both houses, both the Senate and the House of Reps. And let's see if the president is the problem, who would not sign to airtight laws, just like Muhammadu Buhari did.
Now, in closing, we have a little less than 5 minutes to dot our I's and cross our T's. Comrade Abdulwahab, I'll come back to you in your closing thoughts. We've talked about the stakeholders in our quest for progress. The last part of this equation is the electorate. In 2023, we saw the highest number of registered voters, 96.3 million plus. But in the results that came in, that produced President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, just 1/3 of that figure was part of the collated results. How do we engender better voter participation and tackle this issue of apathy?
Build trust. When we build trust, when people trust the process, a lot of people will come out. And you know, let me tell you, this issue of insecurity is also a challenge. People no longer feel safe anywhere they are. They believe that with this election, if you don't vote for a particular people or particular party, you might be attacked. So people feel unsafe, so they don't want to go out. So that is why I want to talk to Mr. President to ensure that there is adequate security is improved every part of this country. Let people be safe to go out with their normal activities, and also on election day they should be able to go out and exercise their franchise. When people feel unsafe, of course they can't go out. And when people feel, a lot of people say, oh, my vote will not count. And I tell people, vote counts. Vote do count. If vote do not count, Peter Obi will not beat the president in Lagos State. If vote do not count, they will not beat Buhari in Katsina State. If vote do not count, in Abuja here, the minister was APC, the chairman of AMAC was APC, the president was APC, 2022. A PDP defeated the AMAC chairman, they won, PDP won, it was APC government. If vote do not count, how do you get that? If vote do not count, how do that man that owns a bike in Kaduna becomes a member of the House of Reps? If vote do not count, how will an estate to the senator in my state, Edo, Mehdi Maswe, defeat his own boss, Matthew Roide, in an election, other Labour? He is the senator. So how, if vote do not count, how do these people become elected? So vote do not only count, if vote will not count when people fail to come out. So I will encourage Nigerians, in spite of everything, go out there, vote for the candidate you like. Don't already defeat yourself to say, oh, my vote will not count. Once you have already defeated yourself that your vote will not count, of course you have made it not to count. It means that your candidate, you are reducing a vote from him or her. So always make up your mind. Go and vote. People that are going to go, how many did you hear that they died? In the last election in Edo State, they predicted heaven and hell people would die. No, but they died. Election head.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Abdulwahab, for taking our time to join this conversation. We're hoping that this is just the first part of a conversation that will continue to revisit up until the 2027 general elections commence. Now, in closing too, let's get your thoughts, Princemartin.
First, I think Nigeria, the president, security agencies must begin to treat election violence as a national security problem, not just as political mischief. In the last election, we had threats. The actual threat to the use of force is actually a deterrent in politics and in war, rather. So when people begin to make mischievous, threat-aligned statements to certain sects, religions, or to certain individuals, please, the security agencies should do nothing else but invite them and for questioning. We cannot sit down and say, oh, I was joking, oh, it was a joke, oh, it was... These menaces should be treated as national security issues, no longer political mischief.
Right.
And as for voter apathy, INEC is the major contributor to voter apathy. INEC should sit up, put their act together, make sure that their guidelines are a matter of law and not a rabble in a rouse, as we would like to say.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince Martin. Thanks to Comrade Abdulwahab once again. But this is as much as time will permit for us to set the tone for a conversation that would be the most revisited as the election gears up. And with the coalition also looking to pitch their tent and garnering more support from the north, we'll keep you informed that this story continues to unfold.